Raymond had lived a long life. He was 78 years old, a man of few words, rigid posture, and strong routines. He got up every morning at 6, drank his coffee black, read the newspaper from cover to cover, and never, ever, said I love you. Not to his wife, not to his son, not to his daughter. To be fair, Raymond believed in actions, not words. He worked hard, really hard. He never missed a day of work in 42 years. He built a solid home, paid the bills, showed up when it mattered. Birthdays, graduations, holidays. He was always physically present, but emotionally, he was like a locked door no one had the key for. His daughter Julia often said, "Dad's like a stone wall. You know he's there. You know he won't fall. But don't expect warmth." His son Mark used to laugh it off. He's old school. That's just how dads were back then. But the truth was, both of them longed deeply for something more, a hug, a kind word, just once to hear, "I'm proud of you, you did great, I love you." It never came. Years passed, Julia got married, had kids. Mark moved out west, built a life of his own, calls became less frequent, visits became shorter, and Raymond, he barely noticed. Or so he thought. Then one afternoon, during a routine checkup, came the news: heart failure. Stage 2. Not immediately life-threatening, but serious. Manageable. With time, discipline, and less stress. But something about the doctor's tone, the clipboard in her hands, the way she avoided eye contact, Raymond knew. His clock was ticking. Louder than ever before. That night, Raymond sat alone at the kitchen table. No TV, no radio, just silence. He looked around the house he had built with his bare hands, the same walls that had heard his children cry, and never once heard him say, "It'll be okay." He thought about Julia's nervous smiles, Mark's polite distance. He hadn't lost his kids to tragedy, he'd lost them to silence. He picked up the phone to call Julia. His hands trembled slightly. She answered after the third ring. "Hi Dad, everything okay?" Pause. I don't know," he said. "Can you come by tomorrow? There's something I need to say." When she arrived, she was cautious. It had been months. They sat across from each other, the air between them thick. Raymond cleared his throat, looked down, then with effort, "I haven't been the father you deserved." Julia blinked. She wasn't expecting that. "I thought, doing the work, providing the roof, showing up, that it would be enough, that you'd just know how I felt." He looked up, tears brimming in his eyes for the first time she could remember. "But I was wrong. I should have said it. I should have held you more when you cried. I should have told you how proud I was." Julia didn't speak. She just stood up and hugged him. The kind of hug that rewinds years of hurt in one silent motion. And when they let go, she whispered, "Thank you, Dad. I've waited my whole life to hear that." The next week, Raymond called Mark. He flew in. Same table, same awkward silence. But this time, Raymond was ready. "I love you, son." Mark didn't cry. He laughed. A short, shocked laugh. Then tears. "That might be the weirdest thing I've ever heard you say," he joked. Raymond smiled. "Feels weird to say. Feels worse to die without saying it." In the months that followed, Raymond's health didn't improve much, but his spirit did. Julia started visiting weekly. Mark called more often, even sent old photos from childhood, teasing Raymond for his robot face in every picture. They started sharing memories, laughing, healing. Raymond began writing letters to his grandchildren, something he had never done. Inside them he poured out stories, feelings, fears, pride, love. He didn't want to leave another generation wondering how he felt. And when the time finally came, quietly one morning in his sleep, he left behind more than a will or a home. He left behind peace, closure, a legacy of emotional courage. At his funeral, Julia said something that silenced the entire room. "My father didn't change because he had to. He changed because he chose to. Even after all those years of silence, he showed me it's never too late to love out loud." So let me ask you something right now. Yes, you, who are you not saying it to? Who are you assuming already knows how you feel? Who do you need to forgive, or ask forgiveness from? Because the hardest words to say are often the ones that matter most. And silence can last a lifetime, unless you break it. Don't wait for a diagnosis, don't wait for time to run out. Say it now. Say it awkwardly, imperfectly, nervously, but say it. I love you. You might just save a heart, maybe even your own.